5 things you should never do if a man is acting distant or pulling away. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do if you're in that situation. I'm also going to tell you the truth about why guys pull away and what to do when this happens. It's Sabrina, your personal love advisor from A New Mode, the channel where we show you how love actually works. When a man starts to withdraw or pull away, a lot of women reflexively panic and try to do whatever it takes to reel him back in. Although they have good intentions, most women end up pushing the guy further away in their attempts to get him back and to get things back on track. It's a really difficult position to be in. You just feel confused, you don't know what's going on, and you have no idea how to fix it. Everything seemed to be going so well, and now something is just off, and you don't know why. Maybe he doesn't text you as often, maybe he just doesn't seem as excited to see you. Maybe he just doesn't seem as excited by your existence as he once did. You feel like you're losing him, and you really like this guy, and you really want to save the relationship. Sometimes it's not even anything he's doing, it's just a feeling that's in the pit of your stomach, and you can't quite put your finger on it. So you don't know if you're being paranoid, you just don't know what's going on. So what now? What do we do? I'm going to tell you exactly what not to do when this happens, and I will also give you some insights into what you should do and how to fix the situation. So make sure you watch this video all the way until the end. Real quick, if you like this video and find it helpful, please give it a like. This is a super quick, super easy way to help me out and help me grow my channel. And make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified whenever I post new videos. Also, be sure to join the A New Mode mailing list. We have an amazing newsletter where we send out our best content. We share personal stories. We share answers to all of your burning relationship questions. It goes straight to your inbox every day. You can sign up at anewmode.com/subscribe and follow me on Instagram at anewmode. When a guy starts pulling away, the first question is why? Why is he doing this? Well, it's usually for one of 2 reasons. The first is he is stressed. He has something going on in his life. He is facing some sort of emotional difficulty and he's pulling away because he wants to deal with it on his own. This is a healthy thing. This is his way of coping with things and there is no relationship problem. The other reason is because he may be losing interest in you. He may be unsure if he wants to continue dating you, and so he's pulling away. I know that this is like the nightmare scenario. I know this is what you don't want to happen, but either way, no matter what the reason he's pulling away, the advice and the solution is pretty much the same. Men naturally cycle between wanting to get close and wanting time on their own. Like I said, this is healthy and this is natural. And this isn't just a male thing. I mean, women also want the same thing. Women might not cycle as dramatically as some men do. Women might prefer to deal with things and cope with things by talking it out with their partner, as opposed to most men who prefer to deal with it on their own. But either way, it is a good and healthy thing in a relationship to have your time together and have your time apart. Okay, so now that you know the why, let's talk about what to do about it. Or rather, what not to do about it. Number 1, don't try to win him over. This is probably the most common thing that women do. When a guy starts to pull away, she assumes that it's because he's losing interest. And so she thinks that, okay, I just need to win him back over. I need to have him fall back in love with me or rediscover how great I am. And she makes it her mission to do just that. She's extra attentive. She goes above and beyond. She caters to his every whim. She just does more and more and more just to show him how amazing she is, in case he forgot. First of all, acting this way completely infringes upon his freedom and it makes him feel smothered. And it makes you look completely desperate. Guys really need the space to work through things on their own. This is a really important thing to a man. And if you won't allow that, he'll be really turned off, and he will. If he wasn't losing interest before, he'll probably start to lose interest now. You also need to remember, it might have nothing to do with you. So you're just wasting all this time and energy and effort trying to prove yourself when you have nothing to prove. There's no problem, everything's fine. Anytime you try to prove yourself to a man or win him over, you are lowering your own value. You're essentially saying, I'm unworthy of you, but I'm just gonna try to plead my case. And I'm just gonna hope that you don't notice that you're better than me. Or maybe I'm just gonna hope that you pick me anyway, even though I'm this lowly creature and you're the supreme being. That's the message you're sending when you try to win a man over. So anytime you catch yourself doing it, be it whether it's a guy you like, you wanna date, or it's because the guy you're dating is pulling away, whatever the case may be, anytime you catch yourself trying to win him over, take a step back, recognize what you're doing, recognize how desperate it makes you look, and remind yourself that you're the prize that he needs to win over. You do not need to devalue yourself by winning a guy over. When you do this, you just send out a desperate vibe, and even the most oblivious man can pick up on that stench of desperation. And like I always tell you guys, the stench of desperation poisons everything. Number 2, don't obsess over it. Stop wasting your time trying to figure out what he's doing, what's going on in his head, does he still like me? And spend your time doing literally anything else. Worrying about how he feels will not solve your problems. It won't get you anywhere. All you're gonna succeed in doing is driving yourself crazy. I don't know why it is that our natural instinct is to just obsess and spin our wheels over things. It doesn't accomplish anything. It just makes you crazy, and it doesn't make you feel good. Feeding into those worried, stressful, anxious thoughts doesn't feel good. It actually feels terrible. It puts you in a terrible mood. It puts you in a terrible state of mind. So don't engage with those thoughts. Yes, I know they're gonna come creeping in, and when they do, you just have to force them to the side and say, I will not participate in this line of thinking. Everything is fine, everything will be fine, whether it works out with this guy, whether it doesn't, whether he's pulling away because he's losing interest or whatever the case may be. Everything will be fine, there's nothing to worry about here. Literally spend your time doing anything else. Read, write, spend time with friends, watch a movie, go for a run, go for a swim, go for a hike, do whatever it is you need to do to just, get those good endorphins flowing, feel good, get to a better headspace. It's not healthy to obsess over a guy and to obsess over his behavior. Also, it's really important to remember that the way to reignite a man's interest is to be interesting. There's nothing interesting about a woman who is sitting at home waiting for him to text her and who's analyzing and dissecting his every text and his every move and his every punctuation mark. There's nothing interesting about that. That kind of woman is desperate. What's interesting is a woman who has a fulfilling, well-rounded life. A woman who is not just putting all her hopes and all her dreams onto this man and onto him texting her back and onto him acting a certain way in order to make her feel a certain way. What captivates a man's interest is a woman who can feel good about herself on her own and doesn't rely on a man to do that for her. And I talk about this a lot in my video on how to be a high value woman, so definitely check that out as well if it's something that you struggle with. Number 3, don't smother him. The biggest mistake you can make is to cling even tighter and smother him when he's withdrawing or pulling away. This will just make him run farther and faster. One thing I talk about a lot on this channel and on my website, newmode.com, is that a man needs the space to invest in you. This is how he comes to truly care about you and to ultimately commit himself to you. Whenever we put effort into something, we're investing in it. So when you're the one putting in all the effort, you're the one making all the investment. And you investing in him is not gonna make him wanna invest in you. What gets him to invest in you is when he has the space to actually pursue you, when he has the freedom to choose you, when he has the space to decide what he wants. If you are pressing yourself right up against his face, and if you are just smothering him and trying to do everything for him and win him over, like I talked about earlier, he doesn't have that space to choose you. If a guy's pulling away, do not smother him and beg him to talk to you and beg him to know what's going on and plead and guilt him and manipulate him or any of those things. Just gracefully pull back, give him the space to work through what he needs, let him know that you're there if he needs to talk to you, and that's it, just let it be. You will do yourself and your relationship a huge favor by taking this time of space to work on yourself and better yourself, as opposed to obsessing and stressing over him and over the relationship. Number 4, don't lash out. When a guy withdraws and starts to pull away, you're gonna feel a lot of emotions. One of the strongest might be anger. You're angry that he's doing this. What's his problem? Why is he just pulling away without telling you what's going on? Why isn't he talking to you? This is so unfair. You've been so good to him. You do everything for him, and this is how he behaves in return. What's going on? This isn't right. This is so unfair. He is such a jerk. All men are jerks, and you spiral into this endless sea of negativity, and this poisonous mindset takes you over and completely ruins everything. You have to realize that a lot of this is just self-generated. He doesn't owe you 100% of his time and attention. And if there's things that he needs to do for himself and for his mental health, then you should respect him enough to give him the space to do that. I know it feels personal. It feels like, this is personal. This is something against you. This means that there's something wrong with you. But it really is not. It's just his process. When you take it personally and you lash out at him, you just come across as being very emotionally immature and maybe overdramatic and someone who just needs constant attention. And he's probably not going to want to deal with that because that's a huge turnoff. He may have been crazy about you before and he's pulling away because of stuff that has nothing to do with you. And then if he sees you acting like that, he's gonna rethink his decision to want to continue dating you. And now, whereas you had no relationship problem, now there's a big relationship problem. And now your relationship really is in trouble. Try to be compassionate and understand that he's going through something that is natural and necessary for him. If the emotions you're experiencing reach a boiling point and you feel like you have to say something, that's fine. Just watch the way you say it, because it's really not what you say, it's the way you say it that causes the problems in a relationship. If you're angry and you lash out and you're mean and you call him names and you're accusatory, then the conversation probably isn't gonna go in a very positive direction. Try to come from a place of compassion and empathy and wanting to understand, as opposed to a place of wanting to blame and lash out at him. I know that it's hard to be compassionate because sharing feelings and emotions comes so easily to most women, but you have to realize that it's not that way for most men. Most men don't have the same kinds of support systems that women have. And for a lot of men, sharing their innermost thoughts and feelings doesn't come naturally and is a difficult thing to do. It's hard to be that vulnerable. It's hard to admit when he's not on top of his game, when things just aren't working out the way that he wants them to. It's difficult for him. Maybe it's not difficult for you, but just because it's not difficult for you doesn't mean that he feels the same way. So it's important to just step out of your own experience and try to understand more of his perspective. Number 5, don't worry. The way not to worry is to just be okay with the outcome no matter what. It's possible that this guy is pulling away because he's losing interest in you and he's just gonna fade away a little more and more until he's gone completely. That's a possibility, and you need to be okay with that possibility. You need to accept that if that's what happens, it's just because he's not the right guy for you. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. When you attach your self-esteem to how a relationship unfolds, then there's a lot on the line. Then it really feels like there's so much at stake. That's what causes that panic and that worry and that nauseating feeling in the pit of your stomach. That feeling like the world is gonna end if this guy ghosts you or dumps you or whatever the case may be. You have to get to a place where you are okay no matter what. If it works out with him, great. If not, I will be okay. Maybe that's not how you feel right now. Maybe it feels like you're lying to yourself by saying this, but say it anyway. This is honestly just the cure for anxiety in general. I mean, just in my life, I'm way past the phase of my life of the dating and the does he like me, whatever. But even still, like where I'm at in my life, married with kids, when I feel that's those waves of anxiety overwhelming me, and I just have a lot going on in my life right now, so those waves come in strong, I just remind myself it's gonna be okay. Everything will be okay. And if this thing doesn't happen to work out and this doesn't, then I'll figure out something else and then that will be okay. So I tell myself this constantly throughout the day. So this isn't just a relationship skill, this is a life skill, because thoughts are real forces and what you tell yourself penetrates you. It changes how you feel. When you start saying the right things to yourself, you'll notice like your blood pressure starts to slow, your heart rate starts to go at a more even pace. You can just be calmer overall. It really is so much about the way you talk to yourself. So if you're saying to yourself, oh my God, I didn't hear from him. I texted him. He didn't text back. What am I gonna do? Oh my gosh, what did I do to cause this? I don't know. Like when you speak to yourself like that, yeah, of course you're gonna be stressed, you're gonna be anxious, you're gonna be tense. It's not gonna feel good. So much better when you feel yourself spiraling to just stop it at the source and say, it'll be fine, it's okay. All right, if I don't hear from him again, it just means he's not the right guy for me, and that's okay. And tell it to yourself as many times as you need to. Your sense of worth can only come from within. It cannot come from a man. And when you really realize this and internalize this, you'll stop putting so much weight on your relationships, because you'll realize that it's not that big of a deal. Feels like it is, because you have your whole sense of self wrapped up in what it means if he responds to you in a certain way, or if he doesn't want you, or however, if his feelings for you don't mirror your feelings for him. So it's really important to make that distinction. Also, when you are so worried and so scared of losing the guy, you do transmit that desperate vibe that is so off-putting. Just imagine the worst case scenario unfolding and be okay with it. Indifference is incredibly sexy. So if he is losing interest for whatever reason, and then he sees that you're not panicking about it and you're just kind of okay with it and you're just going about your life, that will probably reignite his interest in you. Okay, so I shared with you the 5 biggest things not to do when a guy's pulling away. So what should you do? Well, you've probably guessed it by now. Just back off and give him space and focus on yourself, focus on your happiness. That's where you should put your focus and your attention. Not on figuring out what's going on in his head, not on figuring out what he's doing and what he's thinking and what's happening in his head. That is the solution. That's it. No matter what's going on, the solution, back off, give space, focus on yourself. For more relationship advice, check out anumo.com. Make sure to subscribe to our amazing newsletter. You will get our best content in your inbox every day. You can subscribe at anumo.com/subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at anumode, and I'll see you in the next video.